The lesson.
Oh yeah.
Now, an interesting thing that you sort of just touched on earlier was about, biting, and I guess one of the whole key things is to be original. Do you find that there was more emphasis on that back in the 80s, maybe the 90s, than perhaps there is now? And like, what's your take on biting? Explain it, I guess.
I don't think it's ever changed really in my mind, and I really couldn't tell you what goes on these days. I don't know, I see an artwork, whether it was done years ago or it was done yesterday or whatever, and I like what I like. And I can't always explain it so much. And again, it harks back to what I said earlier about, just learning by whatever we could get our hands on. We were just sponges for information in the early days. And it really wasn't until like Subway Art came out in '85 that there was sort of a bit of an outlining of the sort of unwritten rules, so to speak, although it's a contradiction, of course. But it's in print for the first time that, a graffiti writer prides himself in his originality. And I think that could even be a word-for-word quote. That's how much it's drummed into my head. And right or wrong, and ended up being right, thankfully, that's the way I've always felt. Now, of course, you can be influenced by other people, and nobody's perfect. We've all probably bitten something, subconsciously even, But, no, you try and pride yourself in your originality in that. My father had a take on graffiti very different to my mum, for instance, and his take was sort of, graffiti's great, son, but when are you going to move on? Because it all looks the same. I remember him saying this distinctly by about 1986, in appreciation of art. And he just said, it's fine to do graffiti, but it all looks the same. And I go, what do you mean it all looks the same? Different letters, different shapes, colours or whatever and that. He goes, yeah, but it's all the same sort of process. It all looks the same. And it took me years to work that out. I'm still fighting that sort of argument, in my own mind. And I like traditional looking graffiti and that, and some people say, oh, that's old school or whatever and that, but you should have a defined sort of letter structure going on there, and it should be all about the name. And, there are graffiti sort of writers that are artists and there are graffiti writers that are vandals. And I've sort of really always put myself in the vandal category, to be honest. And that's, as I mentioned earlier, about being an angry sort of artistic kid. I'm not interested in painting fancy pictures and that for people and making money and doing faces everywhere or whatever people want and that. No, it's all about the name. But I want to do the name nicely and I want to do the name in nice colours. And some things can be repetitive or whatever and that, but I don't know. I'm different these days, after all these years and that, I own the right to do whatever I want, to be honest, so I don't really care anymore. I don't care what people think. Whereas when you're younger and that, you care a lot more. If you're posting things online, maybe you care a lot more. I don't partake in any of that sort of stuff, so I don't really care.
You mentioned unwritten rules or unwritten, laws of graffiti. Give us your take, I guess, on what some of the unwritten rules are. I mean, we talk about...
Well, they've changed over the years to a certain degree also, but there's still underlying sort of rules of humanity, as in like just treating people bloody normally. It doesn't matter, what they write and all that sort of stuff. A good person's a good person. One mistake a lot of people make is never confuse a bad writer with being a bad person or a good writer with being a good person. That is so bloody naive, it's not funny. It really is. Why would someone that automatically does a really good piece and that be a good person? That doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense whatsoever. Or somebody that couldn't string two words together or something or other in a painting or whatever and that and everything drips and that for some reason he's an arsehole? No, that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. It's about how you treat one another and that, And there's certain lines you should never cross. And it's got nothing to do with graffiti, but, you don't slag off people's manners and, you don't steal and all this sort of stuff. Call them the 10 Commandments, whatever. It makes no difference. They're pretty decent laws to live by. But, I don't know, as far as graffiti goes, I don't know. Yeah, originality is good. Yeah, I'd rather see someone walk the walk than talk the talk.
If you cross someone out, put yourself up next to it.
Yeah, if you want to be 100% honourable, yeah, well, yeah, no, I'm all about that. But then that's different. I'm a bit older and that sort of stuff, If you're younger, I don't really know how they'd handle that sort of stuff. there used to be some old rules about, you know, if you could burn it, you could go over it and all this sort of stuff, or you're going to learn that one the hard way. It doesn't necessarily work that way. Little guys, younger guys, you know, they could be some tough guys sometimes as well, and you get a smacking. So it's really got nothing to do with whether your piece is better or not. Maybe it could be about how fast you can run. I don't know.
The lesson. 2-7. Oh, yeah.